Welcome back to Book Break. In this video, I am recommending books based on each of the 7 deadly sins. There is something very enticing about books that are a little bit sinful, so let me know in the comments below which of these sin-based books most intrigue you. Let's start with Pride. I couldn't resist recommending for this one the book Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. The title gives it away. There is a lot of pride in this book. Of course, pride has a slightly different connotation these days. LGBTQIA+ pride is something wonderful to read about in books, but we're talking about the more sinful type of pride here. So for example, Mr. Darcy is so proud that he looks down on anyone outside his social standing. He thinks that he is absolutely superior. Lizzie Bennet is so proud of her ability to judge people that she refuses to reassess her opinion of Mr. Darcy or Mr. Wickham for ages until she is forcibly proved wrong. Mrs. Bennet is so proud of her daughters that she is obsessed with securing them the futures that she thinks they deserve, which drives them into difficult situations sometimes, and so on. There is a lot of pride in this book which comes before a fall. There's also a lot of prejudice in the book, and funnily enough, prejudice is not one of the original 7 deadly sins, but it is a very dangerous quality. For greed, I recommend the book Last Man in the Tower by Aravind Adiga, which is a book about greed and murder in contemporary Dubai. This book follows a greedy real estate developer who is obsessed with securing his legacy and his empire by building a luxury building called the Shanghai. But he meets his match in a retired school teacher who is the only one of his neighbours who refuses to sell the crumbling apartment where he lives, which is on the land where the Shanghai would be built. But with the temptation of money dangling in front of everyone, neighbours become enemies, acquaintances become co-conspirators, and it all gets very dark. For a book all about lust, I recommend Pool Takes the Form of a Mortal Girl by Andrea Lawler. I talk about this book a lot on this channel, but I couldn't resist it for the theme of lust. This book, if you somehow haven't heard me summarise it before, is about a shapeshifter called Paul who can change his body to experience different queer identities. And there is a lot of sex in this book. It is really a celebration of queerness in all of its forms and a celebration of sex. For envy, I'm going to recommend the book Passing by Nella Larsen. This is a modern classic. It's actually the book that The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett was based on. A lot of people have been loving that book recently. The original book, Passing, is about 2 childhood friends from Harlem who reunite later in life. Claire is now passing as white and is married to a racist man who has no idea about her racial heritage, and Irene is a very active member of her black community. When life brings them back together, these 2 women become increasingly fascinated with and envious of each other, and this envy drives the book to its very dangerous and dramatic climax. For gluttony, I have to recommend the book The Debt to Pleasure by Don Lanchester. This has a main character called Tarquin, real name Rodney, who is a hedonist and food obsessive, travelling from Portsmouth to Provence, compiling a memoir of his life through food, through these various indulgent menus. But this is no ordinary cookbook. It turns out Tarquin is actually on a much more sinister mission, and food is not the only thing he indulges in. For wrath or anger, I'm going to recommend Boy Parts by Eliza Clark, which has one of the angriest protagonists I have ever read in a book. So this book is a sort of modern take on American Psycho. It's about a photographer called Irina who takes explicit photos of average-looking boys that she persuades to model for her. She's also caught in a rut of drugs and alcohol and a fascination with extreme cinema, all while struggling to revive her own art career. And she is honestly quite terrifying. And finally, the final sin is sloth. This is one I'm definitely guilty of. For this, you should read My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Ottessa Moshfegh. It's about a woman's attempt to escape from the world, from reality, for a year by hibernating, with the help of a scarily bad psychiatrist and a whole host of drugs. She hopes that she will wake up a brand new person with a whole new outlook on life, but for now, she just wants to remain unconscious. So it's a really hazy book. It's very unsettling, it's very visceral in its descriptions, and it's also darkly funny. So let me know in the comments below which of those deadly sins you are most interested in. I will also link here to a playlist of all the other videos like this we've made where we recommend you books based on your specific personality types. So do click through and have a browse, and I'll see you next time.